Now let's look at the Jupyter Notebook. So before we get into Python itself, so we have to understand the notebook features, right? So there is Anaconda Navigator that gives you access to many different software, not just Python, the other software platforms as well. Okay, and then one of the features that Anaconda Navigator gives you is access to what is called Jupyter Notebook. And the Jupyter Notebook is by default for Python. But you can use Jupyter Notebook for other software platforms as well. But we don't want to get into that. So when you use Jupyter Notebook, it's Python automatic. And another reason for using Anaconda Navigator is because it comes pre-installed for some of the popular libraries that we will be using. So that's another reason why I chose Anaconda Navigator. And once again, say Python, so we have base Python, right? And then you have the interfaces, developer interfaces. There are several of them. There is IPython, there is PyCharm, there is other. I tried to use all of these different interfaces, and I found that the Jupyter Notebook is the most friendly and it allows more flexibility. So that's the reason why I chose that. But remember that you can use Python directly without having any interfaces. Okay? So we're going to be using Jupyter Notebook, and here let's look at the notebook interface. So we have a menu system here, right? So we have the folders. So we can change folders by just clicking on it. Okay, so let's say we want to get into the documents folder. So just click on documents, and then you get to documents folder. Now we can create new folders. So if you go to new and select folder, right? So it creates a new folder. Okay, and it's called untitled folder. Now we can select that and rename it, say Fall 21 MGT 3860. You can name it anything you want, and then you click that, then again you go into that subfolder. So once you have navigated to the subfolder where you want to create new files, right? Okay, then we can go here and then select Python. So this is the default that I was talking about. Jupyter Notebook comes pre-installed for Python, but you can add more platform, more software down, like R. You can add R to this, or Java, or whatever. Okay, but we are not going to get into those. For R, we're going to use RStudio. That's for other reasons. But right now, so if you click Python 3, so it's going to create a new Python notebook file. Okay. So this is the starting point for writing Python code. Okay, so let's look at this screen. So we have Jupyter Untitled. See, that's the name right now. So if you click that, and you can rename the notebook. Okay, you can rename the notebook. Say I'm going to call chapter 01, say Markdown. Okay, I'll talk about Markdown in just a second. Okay, so the name is changed. So it tells you this is a Python 3 notebook, and then we have a bunch of commands that are available to us. Okay, so we will not be using any of these menu options mostly, because you have shortcuts, so it's a lot easier to use shortcuts. Okay, so the if you want so if you click that, so if you click this button, okay, so it gives you a list of all the shortcuts. Okay, of course, right now there are so many, kind of hard for you to keep track of, but as you use more and more, and some of these shortcuts will become second nature. You will be able to quickly use those instead of trying to go into this menu and then selecting whatever that you want to do. Okay, so that's your shortcut quick reference. Okay, and then this is what you call a cell, a notebook cell. Okay, and then this window here tells you what kind of a cell it is. Okay, now a cell can be a code cell. That's the default. So whenever you create a new cell, that new cell will automatically be a code cell. Code cell means that you can write Python code in it and run the code. Okay, or it can be a markdown cell. Markdown cell is like a comment box. Okay, so you want to write a code, but before you get to the code, you want to explain what the code is going to do. Then you change the code cell into a markdown cell, and then write your explanation. Okay, and this is very important for documentation, because you write a set of code, and then maybe 6 months later when you come back to the code, why 6 months later, even a couple of weeks later, you come back to the code and you don't follow what you have done yourself. So it's very important for proper documentation, and that's what the markdown is. And there is a markdown set of tags. We will go through those in just a minute. Okay, so that's what those tags is what you will use to prepare comment box. See, other two, we are not going to worry about those two. So these are the two types of cell that we will use. And here is where one set of quick key, shortcut key combination is helpful. Okay, so you have a code cell, and you want to convert that code cell into a markdown cell. Right? Now you can go here and change it to markdown cell. So that would do, but that's, you have to go click and all that kind of stuff, right? Instead, if you do escape M for markdown, escape M, that will change it to a markdown cell. And if you press enter, then it'll convert the cell into edit mode. So a cell can be in edit mode or display mode. Display mode is blue, edit mode is green. So when it is in edit mode, then you can start typing whatever that you want. And then suppose you have a markdown cell that you want to change it back to code cell, that will be escape Y. Escape Y will take you back to code cell. Again, there are few quick key combinations that we will be using very frequently, and those key combinations you should try to learn them fast, so you don't have to go and click all of those things. So these two, especially converting code to markdown, is something that you will use often. That will be escape M for markdown. Okay. Escape Y takes you back to code, but that you don't do very often. You don't have a markdown that you want to change to your code. That's rare. but escape M is changing to markdown. Okay? And then there are a couple, 2 or 3 other quick keys that we'll be using, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit.